But regardless, let's get to Ben Johnson. He spoke. They asked him again. You knew this question was going to come eventually. Hey, Jahmyr Gibbs, how do you plan on utilizing him? Yada, yada, yada. Well, Ben Johnson had a response to that question. You're going to want to take a listen.
We always have plays tagged for him going into the game, but we feel really strongly about David as well. So that whole combination, that 1-2 punch is really good for us. We had them both on the field at the same time a little bit last week. We'll probably continue to do that over the course of the season. And, we'll see where Gibbs best suits us each week.
He just said a lot of nothing right there. For people, that's coach speak, what he just said. Like when you listen to the clip, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's hear Ben Johnson. He's like, we plan on utilizing him at a fair amount to get him involved in the game plan this upcoming week against Seattle. We don't have an answer, and that's smart, right? And this is what you do before any game. Like you don't really give away, you don't give away what you have, right? Your cards, you don't show your deck. But regardless, Ben Johnson, Jahmyr Gibbs, you expect him to get more involved in the game plan. He had 9 touches last week. That just it isn't enough, Sam Flannel.
No, I would like to see him. I mean, I get it. Last week it was all well and good because the Lions won, but their offense only scored 14 points. But a lot of that was also because Marvin Jones fumbled inside the red zone, or else their offense would have had more. But I guess my point is that at some point Jahmyr Gibbs has to get more touches than 9 in a game. I would like to see him get 15 in this game, first of all, because in a small-ish sample size, which 9 touches I would say for a rookie number 12 overall pick, I'd say that's a small sample size in his debut. He gained 60 yards. Every time he touched the ball, it seemed like something good was happening. He had the 2 biggest runs of the game besides the touchdown run at the beginning of the game and the end of the game, and he even had a couple of catches. And when he made those runs, he showed a lot more power and willingness to fight for the extra tough yards than maybe we even thought. And I think Brad Holmes knew that all along, and that's one of the reasons why he was so high on him coming out. But that's the thing. Jahmyr Gibbs averaged almost 7 yards every time he touched the ball. I would take that 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000. And in this game coming up, I would like to see him get, like I said, about 15. And I think he might even be a better matchup with his speed for guys like Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner than even David Montgomery. So give me Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 touches. I expect 90 to 100 all-purpose yards.
Detroit Arrow says that's coach speak for, quote, I ain't telling you shit, quote. That's what it was. Chuck Brewer says, Jeff, we won. That's the point of the game. We don't get worried about touches. Start chasing that, and you end up losing games. I agree with you, Chuck. I think everything's matchup oriented, right? If a certain week you have a certain matchup, you want to exploit that, and I understand that completely. But my problem isn't necessarily all touches. It's just where they use Jahmyr. At least in my mind, how it was. What I was sold was Jahmyr was going to be involved a lot in the slot, which we didn't really see that at all last week. It just didn't happen. He was obviously running the football, but besides that, he was catching passes out of the backfield, which is fine. But I expect as the weeks go on here and as you get later in the season, we really do start seeing what we thought we were going to see, which is Jahmyr in the slot, essentially playing wide receiver, because that was the biggest thing for me, right? The reason why I was okay with the pick and I was able to kind of settle, understand why they took Jahmyr was, okay, if he's as dangerous as he is out of the backfield as he is in the slot, I understand that. But if we're not going to use him in the slot, then he's just a running back. Like that's what he is. Now, it doesn't mean he can't be dynamic, but I expect to see more of him in the passing game this week. What about you, Lucas? Oh, and you have more on.
Yeah, we adjusted.
Okay.
But Dan Campbell spoke on it earlier this week. He was like, I expect we're going to have more aggressive play calling. And with that, you played Patrick Mahomes last week. You could not afford any errors. They were playing conservative, trying to own the time of possession, which they did. They had the more time of possession against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's how you tend to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But Seattle Seahawks, it's a way different offense. It's a way different quarterback. It's a way different defense as well. So I think we're going to see a lot more Jahmyr Gibbs as far as through the air. I think when Tim Twentyman, he went on E&E, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gibbs in the vertical passing game. So the fact that he said Dan Campbell was talking about how he expects the Lions to have a little bit more of aggressive play calling, I think that's what it could be. I expect Gibbs to really get from like 7 to 10 carries a week. But when it comes to the receiving end, at least for this season, for the receiving end, I think it is going to pick up, and I think we could start seeing it in this week against Seattle. And I think they'll have a big game because their linebackers, their safeties, Jahmyr Gibbs versus Jamal Adams in the open field. I'm sorry, I'm taking that. That's elder abuse, as Flannel called it. And then behind him, you got Kobe Bryant, who was playing corner last year. So I'm really confident about Jahmyr Gibbs, not only as a player, but against this defense as well.
And by the way, is this like, Broder, I'll go to you for the voice of reason here, filling in for JB. Like, am I out of pocket? Like Steve Wilds, Jeff, it's his first game, bro. Get over it. Detroit Dabber 313 says Jeff sounds like he's a bitter fantasy owner with Gibbs more than an analyst. It was his first game, Jeff. By the way, I do not have Jahmyr in either of my leagues. But is it unfair to say that the 12th overall pick should get more involved? Like,
No, not at all. But it is fair to say that maybe on week 1 he's not going to get
which
the.
is fine.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to get the lion's share of the carries. See what I did there? I think
okay.
what Ben Johnson, he did say a whole lot of nothing, but they are going to use him more moving forward. I genuinely believe. Because there's so many coaches, former players on this coaching staff, I genuinely believe they wanted him to get his feet wet and not overuse him. As long as especially because they won the game, now they can get a little more creative with the offense, get a little more creative with how they're using those two together. They know what they got. They're going to start utilizing Jahmyr Gibbs. They needed that weapon. They felt it when he was off the field. The offense lacked explosion. Flannel, I know you got something to say.
Oh, actually, I wanted to get to some of the best other Lions analysis you can get, and of course, that is the Lions pregame show, where you can even see more of this guy right here.
Geez.
There he is.
The Woodward Sports Lions pregame show returns for another season of Lions football. Join Woodward Sports host Jeff Iafrate. Look at that handsome guy right here, with weekly special guests. This week being Ryan Ermanni. You are not going to want to miss that on the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. Whether you're sipping the Kool-Aid or kicking and screaming same old Lions, you will not want to miss the show. This Sunday, it will be from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. live from Eastern Market. It is going to be a party. Join us all season long for an action-packed Lions pregame experience.
I like it. I'm just saying.
I like it.
I like the show. I think it's a
I
great
bet
show.
you do.
I think you should be locked in on Sunday. We'll be down at Eastern Market doing the pregame show, me and Ryan Ermanni. It'll be a lot of fun previewing that game. And I want to get to some of these comments before we move on here, and we're going to get to something Amon-Ra said at 9 o'clock. He went on the St. Brown Brothers podcast, which is a great podcast, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's amazing. Him and his brother EQ sit there and just chop it up. And Amon-Ra St. Brown had a proposal for what he wants to see out of Lions fans, or for the Lions players when a turnover happens. And you guys are going to want to stick around for that, because I'm all with Amon-Ra St. Brown on that philosophy there. Mike G says Terry Foster is the mayor of the Eastern Market. That's pretty clear. It is. It is clear. Terry Foster hopefully will be out there. And that is his territory is Eastern Market. He's the godfather of the area. So Uncle T, if you're watching, just show up. I'll probably text him as well. I want him down there. It'll be a lot of fun.
We'll be live from 8 to 9 just before that, so rumor has it he might be driving down to Eastern Market.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Steve Wild says, you play the matchups. If y'all spent more time on X and O's versus high generalities, you'd get it. I mean, Steve, and I don't know if you're referring to Jahmyr Gibbs and how they're utilizing him. It has nothing to do. Matchups are important, right? And I understand that. I already said that. But the other part is, if you draft a guy at 12, you expect him to be utilized more often as the season goes on. I'm cool with how week 1 turned out, right? You're easing him along. I get all that. I'm not mad about week 1. All I'm saying is, moving forward, I expect him to get more than 9 touches.
Sure.
Like, is that that's not off base.
It's not like we literally talked about how the matchup against the Seattle Seahawks quarterback, offensive line, and we literally went through the X's and O's of that process.
Like, right, like, is that off
That's
base?
literally
Like, how
what I
dare
said.
you, Jeff? Your 12th overall pick, you want him to get more touches? Fuck you. Like, I mean, I don't know. I would prefer him too, but we shall see. In seeing how Ben kind of talked about it, he doesn't want to give anything away. I expect Jahmyr Gibbs will be utilized more. The guy's just too dynamic, man. He really is.
And that's very well said, Jeff. I don't know if I would have added the FU, but you know what? Who am I to talk? I've dropped plenty of F-bombs on the show.
Yeah,
but
you dropped a couple yesterday, Flannel.
I absolutely did. But like you said, Jeff, it's almost like expecting great things out of your number 12 overall pick is just sometimes asking too much. But here's the thing, though. The Lions did win that game. That certainly trumps all. But and I know this is like a hypothetical a lot of people aren't going to want to play. If the Lions didn't win that game, I'd say that it was mostly because their offense didn't look super great. And Jahmyr Gibbs, every time he touched the ball, he made dynamic plays. Not every time, but on average he did. And he made a couple of really dynamic runs. And he had a couple of catches as well. So I think if Jahmyr Gibbs is a bigger part of this offense and continues to make plays like that, the Lions offense will reach their potential because he has